The cantina was dark and smoky. Alien soldiers from 12 different worlds sat around tables, drinking and sharing war stories. In the corner, Zexthai sat alone with his bottle of blue liquid. His 4 eyes stared at nothing, lost in memories. He wished he could forget. A young Korthani warrior approached his table. "Commander Zexthai, the others say you fought humans. They say you have stories." Zexthai looked up slowly. His gray alien face showed old scars from many battles. "Sit down, young one, but know this. Once you hear about humans, you will never sleep peacefully again." The young soldier sat down quickly. Others nearby turned to listen. Everyone in the galaxy had heard whispers about the strange species called humans. Most thought they were just stories told to frighten new recruits. "I was there at Proxima Station," Zexthai began. His voice was quiet, but every word carried weight. 3 years ago, our third fleet needed the mining station. It was supposed to be easy, just humans working the mines. No weapons, no army. Just workers. He took a long drink from his bottle. "We sent 1,000 warriors to take the station. The humans had maybe 50 people total. Men, women, even some youngsters learning the trade. Our commanders laughed. They said it would be over in 1 hour. Zexthai's mandibles clicked nervously. The station was built inside an asteroid. Long tunnels, mining equipment everywhere, and artificial gravity keeping everyone safe. When our ships arrived, most humans ran to the emergency bunkers like we expected. But not all of them. 2 humans stayed behind. Jake Morrison was there. Communications officer. Just a regular man in his 30s, brown hair, average height. Nothing special about him except his eyes. Those eyes were cold as space when he looked at us. The other was Lisa Hayes, their explosives expert. She knew every piece of equipment on that station. The young soldier leaned forward. 2 humans against 1,000 Korthani warriors? 2 humans with something to protect, Zexthai corrected. In the bunker were 23 wounded miners who got hurt in an accident the day before. They could not be moved. Morrison and Hayes refused to leave them. Zexthai's 4 eyes focused on something far away. Our first assault team went into the main tunnel, 50 warriors in full combat armor. Morrison had turned off the artificial gravity in that section. When our soldiers floated helplessly in the air, he turned on the mining drills from the control room. The cantina had gone completely quiet. Even the bartender stopped cleaning glasses to listen. Morrison spoke to us over the communication system. His voice was calm, like he was giving a weather report. He said, "This is Proxima Station. You are not welcome here. Leave now, or we will defend our people." Our commander laughed and sent more warriors. Hayes had rigged the mining explosives throughout the station. Not random bombs, but careful traps. She knew exactly how much force each section could take. When our second team tried to reach the bunker, she collapsed 3 tunnels behind them. They were trapped in the dark with no way out. Zexthai paused to drink again. His hands shook slightly. Morrison kept talking to us. He told us about the wounded miners, their names, their families, how long they had worked on the station. He said they were good people who deserved to go home. Then he asked us a question that still haunts me. "What question?" the young soldier whispered. He asked if we had families, if we had people waiting for us to come home. Then he said something I will never forget. "I have people counting on me too. The difference is, mine are here and I can still protect them." Our commander got angry. He sent 200 warriors through the service tunnels. Hayes was waiting. She had turned the mining equipment into weapons. Ore crushers became traps. Conveyor belts became moving walls of death. The air recycling system became a way to spread sleeping gas she made from medical supplies. The alien bartender brought another bottle to Zexthai without being asked. The old warrior nodded his thanks. For 6 hours, 2 humans held off our entire force. Morrison never left the control room. He ran the whole station like it was his personal weapon. He could see everything through the security cameras and control every system. Hayes moved through the tunnels like a ghost, always 1 step ahead of our hunters. "But they were only 2 people, another soldier said. "How long could they last?" Longer than we expected, Zexthai replied. Morrison started playing music over the communication system. Human music. He said it was for the wounded miners, to keep them calm, but I think it was really for Hayes and himself, to remind them what they were fighting for. Our commander decided to use the heavy weapons, plasma cannons that could cut through the asteroid itself. Morrison's voice came over the speakers one last time. He said, "You can break this station, but you cannot break what we are. We are humans. We do not abandon our own." Zexthai's voice became even quieter. Hayes appeared in the main tunnel, with 23 wounded miners. Some were barely alive, supported by others who could walk. Morrison was carrying an old human who could not move at all. They stood together, facing our entire army. I was in the front rank. I could see Morrison's face clearly. He was not afraid. Hayes was not afraid. Even the wounded miners stood as straight as they could. They were ready to die, but they would die together. Our commander ordered us to fire. But something strange happened. The warriors hesitated. We had seen many enemies before. We had seen fear, anger, even madness. But we had never seen what we saw in those human faces. "What did you see?" several aliens asked at once. "Love," Zexthai said simply. "Pure love for each other." Morrison looked at the wounded miners like they were his own children. Hayes stood ready to die for people she had known for maybe a few years. The miners, even the ones who could barely stand, were trying to protect each other. In that moment, our commander realized something. These humans were not soldiers. They were just workers who had become warriors because they had to. They fought not because they loved war, but because they loved each other more than they feared death. Zexthai finished his drink and stood up slowly. The commander called off the attack. He said we would find our resources somewhere else. As we left, Morrison spoke one last time. He thanked us for letting them live. He said he hoped we all made it home safely to our families. The young soldier looked confused. "He thanked you? After you tried to kill them?" "That is what makes humans so terrifying," Zexthai explained. "They can fight like demons when they have to, but they never lose their humanity." Morrison probably meant what he said. Even after everything, he did not hate us. He just wanted to protect his people and go home. I reported everything to High Command. They did not believe me at first. 2 humans stopping 1,000 Korthani warriors? Impossible. But then more reports came in. From other stations, other planets. Always the same story. Humans who would not give up when they had something to protect. Zexthai walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. "You want to know the most frightening thing about humans? They are everywhere now. Spreading across the galaxy, building new homes, making families. And every single one of them has the same look in their eyes that Morrison had. The look that says, 'I will not abandon what I love.'" The cantina remained silent long after Zexthai left. Finally, the young soldier spoke to his companions. "Do you think the story is true?" An old veteran from another table answered, "Son, every warrior in this cantina has a human story, and they all end the same way, with us running and them standing their ground." Outside, Zexthai looked up at the stars and wondered how many human families were out there, living peaceful lives until someone threatened what they loved. Then he shuddered and walked into the night, carrying his memories of the day he learned that the most dangerous beings in the galaxy were not warriors at all. The next night, Zexthai returned to the cantina. Word had spread about his human stories, and more aliens crowded around his usual table. They came from different species across the galaxy, all wanting to hear about the strange warriors called humans. Zexthai sat down with his blue drink and looked at the eager faces around him. "You came back for more stories. Good. Maybe if enough of you hear these tales, fewer of our people will die making the same mistakes we did." A tall Krillian officer leaned forward. "Commander, yesterday you told us about 2 humans at a mining station, but surely a real military target would be different." "Station Omega," Zexthai said immediately. 6 months after Proxima, our High Command decided humans needed to be taught a lesson. Station Omega was perfect. A research outpost in empty space. studying dead planets. 37 humans against 3,000 of our finest warriors. He paused to drink. The station was small, maybe 50 rooms total. It had basic shields and no real weapons. Just a place where human scientists worked quietly far from their homeworlds. Our commanders said it would be over in 1 hour. They were right, but not the way they expected. Commander Rick Sullivan ran the station. He was older than Morrison, maybe 50 years old. Gray hair, calm voice, and hands that never shook. He had been a soldier before becoming a scientist. The humans call such people veteran. It means someone who survived many battles and learned from them. Zexthai's 4 eyes focused on the memory. Sullivan had 2 people who made the impossible happen. Amy Watson was their chief engineer, a small woman with red hair who could fix anything. She knew every wire, every pipe, every system on that station. The other was Ben Carter, their doctor and scientist. He studied alien life forms, which meant he knew exactly how different species think and feel. When our fleet arrived, Sullivan sent a message to their home world, not asking for help, because help would take weeks to arrive. He just said, "Station Omega will hold. Tell our families we love them." A Zephyrian pilot interrupted. 37 people could not possibly hold against 3,000 warriors. "That is what we thought," Zexthai replied. "Our first assault wave was 500 warriors. We expected to walk through their shields and take the station in minutes. Instead, we found something that should not have been possible." Watson had turned the entire station into a weapon. The artificial gravity became a trap that could pin warriors to the ceiling or floor. The air circulation system could flood any room with sleep gas or burning chemicals. Even the lights became weapons, flashing in patterns that made Korthani warriors sick and dizzy. But the worst part was Carter. He had studied our species for years. He knew exactly which sounds, which smells, which sights would terrify different alien races. The corridors of Station Omega became a maze of psychological warfare. Zexthai shuddered at the memory. Carter used the station's speakers to play recordings of our own death cries. He released chemicals that smelled like Korthani fear pheromones, making our warriors panic even when they were winning. He had lights that flickered at frequencies that caused seizures in Zephyrian brains. Sullivan coordinated everything from the command center. He spoke to us over the communication system, but his words were different from Morrison's. Sullivan talked like a teacher explaining a lesson. He told us exactly what he was going to do before he did it. He said, "This is Commander Sullivan, of Station Omega. We are 37 humans, you are 3,000 aliens. Mathematics says you should win easily, but mathematics did not account for human stubbornness." The cantina was completely silent now. Even the background music had stopped. Our second wave was 1,000 warriors. Sullivan announced their arrival like a sports commentator. Wave 2 approaching from the port side. Watson, please activate Maze Protocol. Carter, initiate Fear Response Package 7. All personnel, prepare for sustained combat. The station's layout changed. Watson had rigged the walls to move, creating new corridors and blocking old ones. What had been a straight path to the command center became a twisted maze where our warriors got lost and confused. Every room became a trap. In the medical bay, Carter continued treating wounded humans while fighting off attackers. I saw it, myself. He would stitch a wound with one hand while firing a medical laser at Korthani warriors with the other. His voice never changed, always calm and professional. Zexthai took a long drink. One of our warriors burst into the medical bay while Carter was operating on an injured human. Carter looked up from his patient and said, "Please wait in the corridor. I will be with you in 2 minutes." Then he finished the surgery before killing the warrior with a surgical knife. The human he was operating on asked if he was all right. Carter said, "Just a small interruption. Hold still, I need to check your pulse." As if being attacked during surgery was completely normal. Watson was even worse. She sealed herself in the reactor core with a handful of tools and spare parts. For 6 hours, she held off our entire engineering core while keeping the station's power running. Every time we thought we had her trapped, she would disappear into maintenance tunnels we did not know existed. She talked to us through the communication system while she worked. "Sorry about the gravity fluctuations, boys. just rewiring a few systems. This might cause some discomfort. Then the gravity would reverse and our warriors would fall into the ceiling. A Manthari observer asked, "How did they last so long? 37 people cannot fight forever." "They took turns," Zexthai explained. "While some humans fought, others slept. While some slept, others ate. They had a schedule, like they were working a normal job instead of fighting for their lives." Sullivan posted duty rosters on the walls as if it was any other day. The strangest thing was how they talked to each other. "Never panic, never fear," Watson would report. "Reactor core holding steady, life support at 90%. Carter would say, "Medical bay secure, all patients stable." Sullivan would respond, "Good work, people. Dinner is in 20 minutes. "Dinner," Zexthai repeated. "While 3,000 warriors tried to kill them, they still ate meals together." I watched through security cameras as they sat around a table in the command center, sharing food and making jokes. They looked like a family having a normal evening. Our commander got desperate. He ordered the heavy plasma cannons to break open the station's hull. Sullivan's voice came over the speakers one last time, but instead of surrender, he gave us a science lesson. He explained how the station's research data could be transmitted as a focused energy beam, harmless to most species, but deadly to the neural implants that all Korthani warriors use. He said, "This is called the Solomon option, named after an ancient human king who threatened to destroy something precious to save it." Carter added, "The beam will cause permanent brain damage to anyone with Korthani implants within 50 light years. We estimate that includes about 6 million of your people on nearby worlds." Sullivan continued, "We do not want to hurt innocent civilians, but if you do not withdraw in the next 10 minutes, we will activate the beam. 37 humans will die, but 6 million Korthani will die with us." The aliens around the table looked shocked. "They would kill millions to save themselves?" "No," Zexthai said firmly. "They would kill millions to stop us from attacking other human stations." Sullivan made that clear. He said, "If you destroy us, you will learn that humans can be beaten. Then you will attack more human colonies. We cannot allow that to happen." Our commander had no choice. He ordered the retreat. As our ships pulled away, Sullivan sent a final message. "Thank you for your understanding. Station Omega will resume normal research operations tomorrow. Please inform your government that humans prefer peace, but we are prepared for war." 3,000 warriors defeated by 37 humans who never stopped acting like scientists. They treated the whole battle like a research project. Problem: hostile aliens. Solution: make the cost of victory greater than the value of the prize. Zexthai stood up slowly. "Station Omega is still there, still doing research. Sullivan retired and moved to a farm. Watson became a teacher. Carter wrote a book about alien psychology. They went back to their normal lives as if nothing had happened. But our Third Fleet never recovered. Half the warriors who survived developed what Carter called anticipation syndrome. They jump at every sound, expecting the walls to move and the lights to flash. They cannot forget that 37 humans made 3,000 warriors feel helpless." An old Saurian veteran spoke up. "How do you fight an enemy like that?" "You do not," Zexthai replied. "You make peace with them instead, because the next time, they might not give you 10 minutes to retreat." He walked to the door and paused. "Station Omega taught us something important about humans. They do not just fight to protect what they love. They fight to protect what they might love in the future. Every human colony that survives makes it more likely that other human colonies will survive too. That is why they are spreading across the galaxy. Not to conquer, but to make sure there will always be somewhere for humans to call home. And they will defend those homes with the same determination that Sullivan showed. All of them, everywhere, forever." 3 days passed before Zexthai appeared in the cantina again. This time he looked older, more tired. The stories were taking their toll on him, bringing back memories he had tried to forget. But the aliens kept coming, drawn by tales of the mysterious humans who fought like no other species in the galaxy. The cantina was packed tonight. Word had spread to other stations, and officers from distant fleets had traveled just to hear about human warfare. They all wanted to understand how such a young species had become so feared across the galaxy. Zexthai sat down heavily and accepted his usual blue drink. Tonight I will tell you about the ghost ship, about the time 60 human civilians turned a cargo transport into a weapon of terror that haunted our dreams for months. A Vorthon captain laughed. Civilians, not soldiers this time? Worse than soldiers, Zexthai replied grimly. Soldiers fight for duty and honor. Civilians fight for their children. He stared into his drink for a long moment. The transport ship was called New Horizon. Captain Alex Rodriguez commanded it, but he was not military. Just a merchant pilot who carried families from Earth to new colony worlds. 60 people total, including 23 children and their parents. Rodriguez was maybe 40 years old with black hair and kind eyes, the kind of man who would stop his ship to help stranded travelers. His navigator was Sophie Martin, a quiet woman who knew space better than most computer systems. Their security chief was Tony Blake, an ex-soldier who took the job to see the galaxy in peace. The New Horizon was not a warship, just a converted cargo hauler with basic shields and no weapons. It had family quarters, a small school for the children, and a common area where everyone ate meals together. A peaceful ship carrying peaceful people to build peaceful lives. Zexthai's mandibles clicked nervously. Our patrol fleet found them in the Vega system. Standard procedure was simple. Board the ship, relocate the humans to a processing center, use the ship for target practice, easy work for bored warriors. We sent a surrender demand. Rodriguez responded immediately. His voice was calm and polite. He said, "This is Captain Rodriguez of the New Horizon. We are civilian refugees seeking passage to our new home. We have no weapons and no military value. Please allow us to continue our journey." Our commander laughed. He told Rodriguez that humans were no longer welcome in this sector. The ship and its passengers would be impounded. Rodriguez asked for time to explain the situation to his passengers, especially the children. We gave him 10 minutes. The cantina had gone completely silent. Everyone leaned forward to hear what happened next. Rodriguez used those 10 minutes well. He explained to the families that they were about to be separated, possibly forever. The children would be sent to alien education centers. The parents would be scattered across different worlds. Their new home was lost. Then he asked them a question. He said, "We can surrender and hope for mercy, or we can run and hope for freedom. If we run, some of us might not make it home. But if we surrender, none of us will ever see home again. What do you want to do?" The families voted. Even the children got to choose. They picked freedom over safety. Rodriguez nodded and said, "Then we run, and we keep running until we find somewhere safe for our children to grow up." Zexthai took a long drink. What happened next changed everything we thought we knew about civilian ships and civilian people. The New Horizon's engines flared to life, but instead of running away, the ship charged straight at our patrol fleet. Rodriguez came over the communication channel. His voice had changed, still calm, but with steel underneath. He said, "This is Captain Rodriguez. We have children aboard. You will not take them." Sophie Martin was a genius with gravitational fields and asteroid navigation. She piloted that cargo ship like it was a fighter craft, using the system's asteroid belt like a maze. Every time we thought we had them trapped, they would vanish behind a rock and appear somewhere else. Tony Blake was even more dangerous. He took apart the ship's mining equipment and cargo handling systems, turning them into weapons. Welding torches became cutting beams. Magnetic cargo lifts became missile launchers. Even the garbage disposal system became a way to launch debris at our ships. But the families were the real surprise. Karen Price, a teacher, kept the children, calm by turning the whole situation into a learning experience. She taught them about space navigation, while their parents fought for their lives. The children learned to read sensor displays and calculate jump coordinates. A young Zelothi officer interrupted. "Children? In a battle?" "Human children are not like our young," Zexthai explained. "They learn by watching and doing. While their parents prepared for war, the children prepared to help. They carried messages, monitored communications, and stayed quiet when quiet was needed. The New Horizon played a game of hide-and-seek with our entire patrol fleet, 12 military vessels against one civilian transport. We had better weapons, better armor, better training, but they had something we did not understand: desperation mixed with love. Rodriguez spoke to us every day, not threats or curses, but simple statements of fact. "We are still here," he would say. "Our children are still safe. You have not won yet." His voice haunted our dreams because it never showed fear, only determination. Sophie Martin used her knowledge of space to make the impossible happen. She hid their ship in places where ships should not be able to survive. Inside solar flares, behind unstable asteroid clusters, in the shadow of gas giant storms, places where our sensors could not find them. Tony Blake turned their ship into a phantom. It would appear from nowhere, strike at our supply ships, and vanish before we could respond. He used the ship's cargo holds to store captured weapons and equipment. Every attack made them stronger. The families worked together like a military unit, but better. Parents took turns sleeping, so someone was always watching the children. The teacher kept running classes, so the children's education never stopped. The cook kept making meals, so everyone stayed healthy. Zexthai paused, his 4 eyes distant with memory. The worst part was the children's laughter. We could hear it sometimes when we intercepted their communications. Children playing games and learning lessons while their parents fought a war around them. It reminded us that these were not soldiers, just families trying to survive. Our commander got angry. He called for reinforcements and set traps throughout the system. The New Horizon kept slipping away. Rodriguez's daily messages became shorter. Still here, still free, still together. Then something changed. We intercepted a transmission from Rodriguez to his passengers. He said, "Families of the New Horizon, we have a choice to make. We can keep running forever, always looking over our shoulders. Or we can make a stand and show these aliens that human families cannot be broken." Karen Price spoke for the families. "Captain, we trust you. Our children are learning courage from watching you. Whatever you decide, we will follow." Rodriguez's final plan was insane. The New Horizon dropped out of hiding and flew straight toward our command ship. All weapons firing, all shields at maximum. A civilian transport attacking a military cruiser in open space. But it was not a suicide run. It was a distraction. While our entire fleet focused on the transport, Sophie Martin had programmed the navigation computers of several captured supply ships. They came out of hyperspace around our command vessel, filled with explosives that Tony Blake had prepared. Our commander had seconds to choose: destroy the New Horizon and die in the explosions, or let them escape and survive. He chose to live. The patrol fleet scattered, and the New Horizon vanished into hyperspace. Rodriguez sent one final message as they jumped to safety. "This is Captain Rodriguez. We are going home now. Our children want to see their new world. Thank you for teaching them that freedom is worth fighting for." Zexthai finished his drink and stood up slowly. The New Horizon reached their destination 3 weeks later. The children started school in their new colony. The parents began building homes and farms. Rodriguez went back to flying cargo ships, carrying more families to safety. Our patrol fleet was disbanded in disgrace. 12 military vessels defeated by one civilian transport full of families. The High Command could not explain it to the other fleets. But I understood what happened. Those humans did not fight for their government or their species. They fought for something much more powerful: the right of their children to have a future. When you threaten a human's child, you face not just one person, but an entire family. And human families are the most dangerous force in the galaxy. An old Korthani veteran asked, "Did you ever see them again?" "No," Zexthai replied. "But I hear reports from other sectors. Human families spreading across the galaxy, always moving, always building new homes. And whenever someone tries to stop them, they remember the lesson of the New Horizon, that love makes civilians into warriors, and warriors into legends." He walked toward the door and paused. "The children from that ship are adults now. They have children of their own. And when those children hear the story of their parents' great escape, they learn that freedom is not given, it is taken. By ordinary people who become extraordinary when they have something worth protecting. A week passed before Zexthai returned to the cantina. News had traveled across the galaxy about the old Korthani warrior who told stories about human combat. Ships changed course just so their crews could hear these tales. Tonight, the cantina was so crowded that aliens stood against the walls unable to find seats. Zexthai looked around at all the faces watching him. Warriors from dozens of different worlds, all wanting to understand the species that had changed everything. He sat down at his usual table and accepted his blue drink with shaking hands. "Tonight, I tell you about Terra Nova," he said quietly. "The battle that broke our empire and taught the galaxy that humans should never be underestimated." A Krillian admiral pushed forward through the crowd. "Terra Nova? That was your greatest defeat. 2 million Korthani warriors against a human colony world. 2 million of our finest soldiers," Zexthai confirmed, "against 50,000 human colonists who had been farming for only 3 years. It should have been our greatest victory. Instead, it became our greatest shame." He stared into his drink, gathering the strength to continue. Terra Nova was humanity's first major colony world. Beautiful place with green forests and clean rivers. The humans had built small towns connected by roads, surrounded by farms where they grew food for their families. General Paul Henderson commanded their defense. He was an old soldier, maybe 60 years old, with gray hair and scars from many battles. He had retired from military service to become a farmer on Terra Nova. But when our invasion fleet arrived, the colonists asked him to lead their defense. Henderson had 2 people who helped him work miracles. Colonel Janet Morris was a tactical genius who understood how to use the planet's geography as a weapon. Major Steve Parker was an engineer who could build fortifications from farm equipment and mining tools. Zexthai's 4 eyes focused on the painful memory. Our high command wanted to make an example of Terra Nova. They said humans needed to learn that they could not just take any planet they wanted. 2 million warriors would crush the colony in days, and the rest of the galaxy would remember not to challenge Korthani power. The humans had 3 years to prepare, but they were not soldiers. They were farmers, teachers, doctors, shopkeepers, people who had come to Terra Nova to build peaceful lives for their families. When our invasion fleet arrived, they could have evacuated to safer worlds. Instead, Henderson sent a message to our fleet commander. "This is General Henderson of Terra Nova Defense Force. You are not welcome on our world. We have built homes here, planted crops here, buried our dead here. This is our soil now, and we will defend it." A Zelothi captain laughed. 50,000 farmers against 2 million warriors? What did they think would happen? They thought exactly what did happen, Zexthai replied grimly. Henderson had studied every major battle in galactic history. He knew that large armies need supply lines, communication networks, and coordination. He planned to take all of those things away from us. Colonel Morris was a master of terrain warfare. Terra Nova had mountains, forests, rivers, and plains. Each type of ground became a different kind of trap. She used the planet's native animals as weapons, creatures that had never seen aliens before and did not like the smell of our fear. This planet had massive creatures called thunder beasts, herbivores the size of our heavy tanks, but Morris trained them to charge when they heard certain sounds. When our first landing forces deployed, they found themselves facing stampedes of creatures weighing 50 tons each. Major Parker was even more dangerous. He had turned every human settlement into a fortress, but fortresses that looked like normal farm buildings. What appeared to be a simple barn would suddenly sprout weapon turrets and energy shields. Innocent-looking houses became command bunkers with underground tunnels connecting them. Zexthai took a long drink. Our first assault was 500,000 warriors. We expected to overrun the humans in the first day. Instead, we found ourselves fighting an entire planet that had been turned into a weapon. Parker had rigged the roads with explosive charges, but not random bombs. Carefully planned traps that would create landslides, flooding, or sinkholes. Our armored columns would be moving smoothly, then suddenly half the vehicles would be buried under tons of rock and mud. Morris used the forest like a 3-dimensional battlefield. Human fighters would attack from the trees. disappear into underground tunnels and emerge miles away to attack our supply convoys. They moved through their own territory like ghosts, while we stumbled around blind. The worst part was the weather control system. Dr. Helen Ross, their climatologist, had turned Terra Nova's weather modification technology into a weapon of war. She could create storms, floods, heat waves, or blizzards wherever she wanted them. The crowd pressed closer, hanging on every word. Henderson coordinated everything from a mobile command center that never stayed in one place for more than a few hours. He spoke to his people over hidden communication networks, always calm, always confident. His voice became the backbone of their resistance. He would say things like, "Eastern Sector, please delay the enemy advance for 2 hours while we prepare," a surprise for them. And somehow a few hundred farmers with hunting rifles would hold off 50,000 warriors for exactly 2 hours, then melt away into the wilderness. Our commander got frustrated and ordered mass bombardment from orbit. Henderson's voice came over our communication system. "General to alien commander, you are bombing farmland that took 3 years to prepare. Every acre you destroy represents food that would have fed human families for generations. We will remember this." But the bombardment barely slowed them down. Parker had built his fortifications underground, connected by tunnels that went for miles beneath the surface. The humans would disappear into the earth when we attacked, then emerge behind our lines to strike at our weak points. Morris started, using psychological warfare. She had studied our species and knew what frightened us. Human fighters would howl like the native predators when they attacked at night. They used sound systems to make our warriors think they were surrounded by thousands of enemies when only dozens were actually there. The children of Terra Nova were part of the defense too, not as fighters but as messengers and scouts. They knew every path through the forests, every hiding place in the mountains. While we searched for enemy soldiers, human children watched us from caves and trees, reporting our movements to Henderson's forces. Dr. Ross turned the planet's ecosystem into an ally. She modified the native plants to release chemicals that made our warriors sick and dizzy. The very air of Terra Nova became poisonous to alien invaders, but harmless to humans who had lived there for years. Our second wave was another 1,000,000 warriors. Henderson welcomed them with a message. "More guests for Terra Nova. We have prepared accommodations for all of you. Please enjoy your stay, however brief it may be." The humans had learned from our first assault. Now they knew exactly how we moved, how we thought, how we fought. Morris set traps that used our own tactics against us. When we tried to surround human positions, we found ourselves walking into crossfires that eliminated entire companies. Parker's engineering corps had built weapons from agricultural equipment. Crop harvesters became mobile fortresses. Irrigation systems became networks for moving troops and supplies. Even the livestock pens became launching sites for improvised missiles. Zexthai's voice grew quieter. The turning point came when Henderson offered us a choice. He broadcast a message to our entire invasion force. "Alien warriors, you are far from home, fighting for leaders who do not care if you live or die. We are fighting for our homes, our families, our future. Surrender now, and we will help you find a way home. Continue fighting, and we will show you why humans do not give up." Some of our warriors wanted to accept. They were tired, hungry, and frightened. But our commander ordered them to keep fighting. That was his biggest mistake. Henderson's final gambit was brilliant and terrible. He had Dr. Ross create the largest storm in Terra Nova's recorded history. Hurricane-force winds, flooding rains, and lightning that lasted for 3 days. Our warriors were trapped in the open with no shelter while the humans waited safely in their underground bunkers. When the storm ended, half our invasion force was gone. Not killed, just scattered across the planet, lost and demoralized. Henderson sent teams to find our surviving warriors and offer them food, medical care, and safe passage off the planet. Our commander tried one last desperate assault with his remaining forces. Henderson met him personally on the battlefield, an old human farmer facing a Korthani war chief in single combat. Henderson won. The invasion ended with the complete surrender of our remaining forces. Henderson personally escorted our commander to his transport ship. As we left Terra Nova, he sent a final message. You are welcome to return any time as peaceful visitors. Our children would like to learn about other worlds and other peoples. But if you come as conquerors again, remember that this planet knows how to defend itself. Zexthai stood up slowly, looking older than ever. Terra Nova is still there, still farming, still growing. The humans have built a beautiful world with cities and schools and museums. 2 weeks passed before Zexthai appeared in the cantina for the final time. The old warrior looked tired and worn, as if telling these stories had drained something vital from him. The cantina was packed beyond capacity. Aliens from across the galaxy had come to hear the conclusion of his tales about human warfare. Zexthai sat down at his usual table, but tonight he ordered water instead of his blue alcohol. His 4 eyes were clearer than they had been in weeks, as if he had made an important decision. Tonight I tell you the last story, he said quietly. The story of why I sit here in exile, banned from my own homeworld, telling tales to strangers in a cantina at the edge of nowhere. A Vorthan general leaned forward. Exile? You were a hero of the Korthani Empire. Why would they exile you? Because I learned something that my people did not want to hear, Zexthai replied. After Terra Nova, our high command needed answers. How had humans become so dangerous? What made them fight so differently from every other species? They sent me to Earth itself to find out. I expected to find a warrior planet, military academies on every continent, weapons factories, training grounds where human children learned to fight from birth. Instead, I found something that terrified me more than any army. Zexthai paused, gathering his thoughts. Earth is beautiful. Blue oceans, green forests, white clouds and bright skies. Millions of humans living in cities and towns, working at jobs, raising families, going to school. It looked so peaceful that I thought there had been some mistake. Dr. Linda Gray was assigned to be my guide, a historian who studied human warfare, but she looked more like a grandmother than a warrior. Gray hair, kind eyes, and hands that had never held weapons. She welcomed me like an honored guest instead of an enemy scout. General Pete Collins commanded Earth's defense forces, but he was not what I expected either. A calm man who spoke quietly and smiled often. His office was filled with pictures of his family, not trophies from battles. When I asked to see Earth's military secrets, he laughed and said, "Everything you need to know is in our schools." Schools? Several aliens asked at once. Human schools, Zexthai explained. Dr. Gray took me to visit dozens of them. Buildings, full of human children learning mathematics, science, literature, and history. But the history lessons were what changed everything I thought I knew about humans. The children learned about human wars, but not to glorify them. They learned about the costs of war, the suffering it caused, the families destroyed. But they also learned about the heroes who fought to protect others, soldiers who sacrificed themselves so civilians could escape, leaders who chose difficult paths to save lives. Teacher Mary Johnson showed me how human children learn courage, not through violence but through stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. A mother who carried her injured child through a blizzard to find help. A teacher who stayed with his students during an earthquake. A farmer who shared his food with hungry strangers. I asked Dr. Gray why humans taught their children about war if they wanted peace. She said something that haunts me still. We teach them about war so they will understand the price of peace. We teach them about heroes so they will know how to be heroic when heroism is needed. Zexthai took a sip of water, his hands trembling slightly. General Collins showed me Earth's military training centers. I expected to see warriors learning to kill efficiently. Instead, I saw soldiers learning to protect people, to build bridges, to provide medical care, to rescue survivors from disasters. Human soldiers train for war, but they also train for peace. They learn to distribute food to hungry populations, to build schools and hospitals to help communities recover from natural disasters. Their military teaches destruction, but it also teaches creation. Dr. Gray explained something called the warrior protector tradition. She said humans have always understood that the strongest people have a duty to protect the weakest, not to rule over them but to serve them. The best human warriors are those who fight so others do not have to. I spent months on Earth visiting human families in their homes. I wanted to understand what made them so dangerous in battle. What I found was the opposite of danger. I found love. The cantina was completely silent now. Even the bartender had stopped working to listen. Jim Roberts was a construction worker, building homes for other families. His wife, Kate Roberts, was a teacher, helping children learn to read and write. They had 2 young children who played games and asked endless questions about everything. A completely ordinary human family. I ate dinner with them many times. Simple meals around a wooden table, everyone talking about their day. Jim would describe the building project he was working on. Kate would tell stories about her students' progress. The children would share what they had learned in school. One evening, their youngest child asked me about my own family. I told her that Korthani warriors are raised in military compounds, trained from birth to serve the Empire. The child looked sad and asked, "Do you miss your mommy?" I realized then that I had never had a mommy to miss. Korthani children are taken from their birth parents and raised by the state. We learn duty and obedience, but we never learn love. We fight for the Empire because it is all we know. Humans fight for their families because they cannot imagine life without them. Kate Roberts asked me about my own children. I explained that Korthani warriors do not have families, only comrades. She looked shocked and said, "Who takes care of you when you are hurt? Who worries about you when you are away? Who celebrates when you come home safely?" I had no answer. In the Korthani Empire, wounded warriors are replaced by healthy ones. Absent warriors are forgotten. Dead warriors are honored briefly, then replaced. We serve the Empire, but the Empire does not love us back. Dr. Gray showed me the real secret of human warfare. She took me to a cemetery where human soldiers were buried. Thousands of graves, each one marked with a name and the words beloved son or beloved daughter. Every human warrior who died was mourned by someone who loved them. She said, "This is why humans fight so fiercely. Each soldier knows that somewhere someone is waiting for them to come home. A mother who will worry until she sees them again. Children who need their parents' guidance. A partner who shares their dreams for the future." I asked Dr. Gray what made humans willing to die for others. She pointed to a grave marked John Smith, beloved father and teacher. She said, "He did not die for his government or his planet. He died so his students could grow up in a world where teachers are safe to teach and children are safe to learn." Human warriors fight for love. Not abstract love for humanity, but specific love for specific people. The Morrison who died at Proxima Station had a wife who planted flowers in her garden every spring, hoping he would come home to see them bloom. The Sullivan who held Station Omega had grandchildren who drew pictures for him and sent them across space. Zexthai stood up slowly, his voice growing thick with emotion. I returned to the Korthani Empire with my report. I told the High Command that humans could not be defeated because they fought for something we did not understand. Love made them stronger than any weapon, braver than any training, more determined than any ideology. The High Command rejected my report. They said I had been corrupted by human propaganda. They insisted that humans were just another species that could be conquered with enough force. When I refused to change my conclusions, they stripped me of rank and exiled me from Korthani space. But they were wrong, and the galaxy knows it now. Human colonies spread across the stars, each one defended by people who would rather die than abandon their homes. Human merchants traveled dangerous routes to bring supplies to struggling worlds. Human doctors risked their lives to treat plague, victims on distant planets. The Korthani Empire is falling apart. Our warriors no longer believe in conquest because they have seen what happens when you threaten a human family. Other species make peace with humans rather than fight them. The galaxy is learning that cooperation is stronger than domination. I sit here in exile because I learned the truth about humans. They are not the greatest warriors in the galaxy. They are the greatest lovers in the galaxy. And when you threaten what someone loves, you face not just their anger, but their absolute refusal to give up. Every human story I have told you tonight has the same ending. Ordinary people who become extraordinary when they have something worth protecting. Morrison protecting wounded miners. Sullivan protecting his research team. Rodriguez protecting refugee families. Henderson protecting his colony. All of them fighting not because they loved war, but because they loved peace. Zexthai walked to the door and turned back one final time. The humans have a saying, home is where the heart is. They carry their homes with them wherever they go, because home is not a place, it is the people you love. And they will defend their hearts with everything they have, everywhere they go, for as long as they live. That is why the galaxy fears them. Not because they are great destroyers, but because they are great protectors. And there is nothing in the universe more dangerous than someone who loves something more than they fear death. The old warrior walked out into the night, leaving behind a cantina full of aliens who finally understood why their mighty empires trembled at the name of humanity.